Hello, my name is Aiman Ilyas and I'm from Group 13 as well as my team members. Let's start with me. I'm Ilyas bin Adi Zusra. We also got Aisyati binti T Sombing, Akmal Nur Hakim bin Azwan Putra, Arisha Sofia binti Muhammad dan Hanis Akila binti Muhammad Khairi. We will be talking about the Building Act 1984. So, let's begin. So, if you want to know Building Act 1984, first we have to know what is the purpose of the Building Act 1984. Well, the purpose is mainly safety. As you can see here, the main purpose of Building Act are to protect the public's health, safety, and general welfare in construction and accompany of building and structure. People need to be safe being inside one of these buildings. So that's what the main purpose of the act is, to ensure that everyone is safe. So as you can see here in the Building Act 1984, there are 5 parts. There's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and also part 5. And I'm MLS going to explain to you about part 1, and my teammates will part 2, part 3, part 4, and so on. So let's begin. So Building Act 1984 part 1. What is part 1? To ensure building constructions conforms to building standards, starting from section 1 to 46. This set design standards for all buildings to provide simple design rules for most stone and wood elements for traditional domestic buildings. As you can see here, there are 16 regulations of Building Act 1984 in part 1. So let's see. Power to make buildings regulation, exemption from building regulations, approved documents, relaxation of building regulation, type approval of building matter, consultation, passing of plans, determination of questions, purpose departure from plans, lapse of deposit of plans, test for conformity with building regulations, classification of buildings, breach of buildings regulation, appeal in certain cases, application of building regulation to Crown and Inner London. So now we have reached the conclusion for part 1. In general, part 1 involves the regulation applied to the most new buildings and many alterations to existing buildings. A series of approved documents provide general guidance and specific aspect of building design and construction. So that's it from me. Again, my name is Aiman Ilyas, and I will pass it to my other team members.
My name is Aisa binti Sobing, and I will present about part 2 of Building Act 1984. So the part 2 is the supervision of building work and otherwise than by local authorities. So in this act, it is included in section 47 and section 58. It is included with first, the initial notice plan certificate. The second one is combined initial notice and plan certificate. The third is amendment notice and the final certificate. So in section 47.1, it is said that an initial notice must be accepted by the local authority as long as the initial notice continues in force. The approved inspector shall undertake such function as may be prescribed with respect to the inspection of plans of the work. So the supervision of that work and the giving certificate and other notice. Okay, for section 49.1, so in this act, approved inspector means a person who, in accordance with building regulation, approved for the purpose of this part of this act by the Secretary of State or by a body which is a corporate or unincorporated, that in accordance with the regulation is designed by the Secretary of State for the purpose. Okay, the next section is section 50, where an approved inspector A has an inspected plans of the work specified in initial notice given by him, or B is satisfied that the plan neither are defective nor show that work carried out in accordance with them would contravene any provision of building regulation, and C, it has complied with any prescribed requirement as to consultation or otherwise he shall to do so by the person intending to carry out the work give a certificate in the prescribed form. It is called a plan certificate to the local authorities and to that person. The next section is section 51.3. It is said where a final certificate has been given with respect to any of the work and has been accepted by the local authority concerned, the initial notice ceases to that work, but in section 41 above continue to apply by virtue of this subsection in relation to that work as if the initial notice continued in force in relation to it. In section 55.1, a person aggrieved by the local authority's rejection of A, an initial notice or a public body notice, or B, a plan certificate, a final certificate, a public body's plan certificate, or a public body final certificate. It may appeal to a magistrate court acting for the petty sessions area in which is situated land on which there will be or there has been carried out any work to which the notice or certificate related. So that's all from me.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. Today I will present for my topic about the Building Act 1984 for Part 3. Part 3 is the other provision about building. It is from section 59 to section 90. Consists of drainage, provision of sanitary, convenient, building, defective premises, demolition, example yard and passages, appeal to Crown Court, application of provision to Crown property in the London and miscellaneous. For section 59, in bracket 1, it appear to a local authority that is in the case of a building, they shall by notice require the owner of the building to make satisfactory provision for the drainage of the building or require either the owner or the keeper of the building to do such work as may be necessary for renewing, repairing, or cleansing the existing cesspool, sewer, drain pipe spout, sink or other appliance, or for filling up, removing, or otherwise rendering inertious the disused cesspool, sewer, or drain. Section 61 in bracket 4, this section is subjected to the repair for example of drain. This section does not apply to so much of drain or sewer constructed by or belonging to a railway company as run under, across or the railway. And second is so much of the drain or sewer constructed by or belonging to the undertaker as is situated in or on land of the undertaker that is held or used by them for the purpose of the undertaking. And for section 67 in bracket 1, local authority may at the request of a keeper of any premises connected with a cesspool, sewer or drain on which any work of maintenance, improvement or repair that necessitates the disconnected of the sanitary convenience provided for on in connection with the premises is to be carried out by a local authority. or by the owner or a keeper of the premises is pursuant of Section 59 above, supply on loan temporary sanitary convenience in substitution for any sanitary convenience or so disconnected. And the last for Section 70 in bracket 1, it appeared to a local authority that the house or part of a building that is occupied as a separate dwelling, which is without sufficient and suitable accommodation for the storage of food, the local authority may by notice require the owner of the house or building to provide the house or building with sufficient and suitable accommodation for that purpose. And the conclusion for the part 3, the regulation in the part 3 are applied to drainage of building, provision of closet in building, dangerous building emergency measure, paving and drainage of yard and passages, appeal to Crown Court facilities for inspecting local act and so on. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, hello. Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Akmadan Wakil Mendas Pamudra. Hari ini saya membentangkan mengenai The Building Act untuk Part 4. Okay, what is Part 4? Okay, apa itu? Apa maksudnya? Okay, Part 4 adalah mainly subject to local authorities starting from Section Local 91 to Section 1955. That consists to duty of local authorities in terms of premise, execution of work, Okay, ini The Building Act 1984 Part 4 adalah hanya 6 section yang paling penting untuk Part 4. Section 91 bracket 1, Section 91 bracket 2, Section 95 bracket 2, Section 97, Section 99 bracket 1 and Part and 2, Section 112. Okay, ini adalah yang paling penting untuk ni. Okay, Section 91 kurungan 1 adalah duty of local authority is to enforce and executive execution and proposal of act related to other authorities or person. Okay, untuk Public Healthy Act 1936, Section 151 of Local Government Planning and Land, Section 1 kurungan 3 Public Healthy Act 1984. Okay. Section 91 kurungan 2 adalah the local authority do need to implement routine regulation in their areas which subject to Section 5 kurungan 3 48 kurungan 1 and 53 kurungan 2 and Part V of Schedule 3 to the East Act. Okay. Section 95 bracket 2 adalah subject to the power to enter premise and authorization officer with authorized document showing each authority has the right to enter any premise with reasonable purpose. Okay. Untuk Section 97, local authorities may be agreement with the owner of copy of the premise themselves executed at its best for any work that they have under the Act require him to execute and any work in connection with the construction laying intention of repair of sewer of drain that he intended to execute. Okay, Section 95 bracket 2 adalah the nature of the work execution and time which must be declared with this. Okay, nombor 2 pula, fail to provide notice to execute work and within the time limit will face legal action. Okay, Section 112 adalah any individual who obstruct person acting in the execution of this act of the building regulation law or the provision is made by this act will be commissioned to a fine. Okay, in the general untuk Part 4 ni, in the Building Act 1984 is about local authority in the section. The focus is the duties and the power local authorities. Local authorities have a responsibility to ensure that Building Act 1984 is enforced. Okay, itu sekian daripada saya. bersama untuk part 5. Ya, terima kasih.
My name is Hanis. I would like to present Building Act 1984 Part 5. Part 5 Supplementary. Part 5 contains 7 schedules whose prime function is to list the principal areas requiring regulation and to show how the building regulations are to be controlled by local authorities. These schedules are Schedule 1 Building Regulations, Schedule 2 Relaxation of Building Regulation, Schedule 3 Inner London, Schedule 4 Provision Consequential upon Public Bodies Notice, Schedule 5 Transitional Provisions, Schedule 6 Consequential Amendments, Schedule 7 Repeals. Schedule 1 Building Regulations. The building regulations are a statutory instrument authorized by Parliament which details how the genetic requirements of the Building Act are to be met. Schedule 1 describes the mandatory requirements for completing all building work. Schedule 2 Relaxation of Building Regulations. This schedule provides guidance in connection with work that has been carried out prior to local authorities under the Building Act 1984 Section 36, dispensing with or relaxing some of the requirements contained in the building regulation. Schedule 3 Inner London. Schedule 3 applied to how building regulations are to be used in Inner London and as well as ruling which section of the Act may be omitted. Also details the requirements for drainage to Inner London buildings and shows how by law concerning the relation to the demolition of buildings in Inner London may be made. Schedule 4 Provisions Consequential upon Public Bodies Notice. This schedule concerns the authority and ruling of public bodies, notice, and certificates. When a public body is satisfied that the work specified in another public body's notice has been completed as details, then the public body will give the local authority a certificate of completion. This certificate is called Public Bodies Plan Certificate and can relate either to the whole or to part of the work specified in the public body's notice. Acceptance by the local authority signifies satisfactory completing of the planned work and the public body's notice ceases to apply to that work. Schedule 5 Transitional Provisions. Schedule 5 lists the transitional effect of the Building Act 1984 concerning the Public Health Act 1936, the Clean Air Act 1956, the Housing Act 1957, the Housing Health Act 1961, the London Government Act 1963, the Local Government Act 1972, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, and the last one, the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1982. Schedule 6 Consequential Amendments. This schedule lists the consequential amendments that will have to make to existing Act of Parliament owing to the acceptance of the Building Act 1984. Schedule 7 Repeals. This schedule lists the cancellation, repeal of some sections of existing Act of Parliament owing to acceptance of the Building Act 1984. That's all from us. Thank you.